Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. The Age of Cards. The 100 Ghosts Night Walk is drawn at the start. Chapter 56. A living corpse is a monster similar to a zombie, but it is weaker, usually no more than level 10. Yi Zi explained without looking back. As Kaling, Yu Zhaoqian didn't know much about many creatures from other planes. Hearing this, he became curious and asked various questions one after another. The more Li Yu listened to, the more strange his expression became. He is determined now. This very coquettish girl is definitely not a katana. You must know that even the unawakened apprentice Katu has received a lot of plain knowledge education since childhood, and his understanding of alien creatures will never be so lacking. That is, ordinary people. Li Yu couldn't help but stunned. Bringing an ordinary person, still a girl, to a place far away from Tianxin City to carry out an adventure mission, this adult is really a master of art and daring, and he is not afraid of anything. Conversation room. The convoy drifted away. Finally, the Qingwei plane is about to arrive. Hundreds of meters away, Yi Zi could see the shadowy figures in the distance. These figures are scattered all over the place, walking and moving slowly. Their movements are stiff and sluggish, like an old man. Close. Only then can it be seen that these figures are all living corpses with rotting and gray skin, revealing red and white fat and muscles. As the convoy drove into the plains, the low roar of the engine immediately caught the corpses' attention. After a moment of stillness, the living corpses changed their sluggish appearances, and roared fiercely. The speed is not inferior to ordinary people at all. See. On the off-road vehicles outside the convoy, 6 or 7 card players stood up in a hurry, skillfully drawing cards. See the light flashing. Hundreds of flying kalings immediately appeared over the convoy. Human-faced harpies, feathered snakes, arrow eagles, gargoyles. More than 100 flying kalings swooped and fell, killing all the approaching corpses in an instant. Subsequently, they followed above the convoy, taking turns to clean up the corpses attracted by the sound of the engines and the breath of the living. These guys are so weak. Yu Zhao was lying on the edge of the window, looking at the living corpse whose head was shattered by the human-faced harpy, and pouted in disdain. That can't be said. Li Yu answered with a smile. It's true that living corpses are weak, but once a large-scale attack forms a corpse tide, tisk tisk, it's definitely a nightmare, but corpse tides are very rare. In the middle of the conversation, he suddenly seemed to be strangled by the neck. His voice stopped abruptly, his eyes widened and he looked in the direction ahead to the right, his face full of astonishment. Yi Zi followed his line of sight and saw a dark crowd of people in the distance. Numerous living corpses rubbed shoulders, rushing towards this side. Damn it, Li Yu, you crow's mouth. Laozi will tear your tongue sooner or later. There were angry shouts from the car next to him. Obviously the people inside heard what Li Yu had just said. Li Yu wanted to cry without tears. I didn't expect my mouth to be so smart. What are you panicking about? A pleasant female voice came from the front. The sound was obviously blessed by astrology, and it spread throughout the entire team in an instant. There is a calm and peaceful power. It's not a corpse tide, it's just a larger corpse group. Stop the vehicle and prepare for battle. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the adventure group breathed a sigh of relief. What? It turned out to be just a group of corpses. I scared Laozi to death. I thought I encountered a corpse tide. Let me just say, this is just the periphery of Qingwei Plain. How could there be a corpse tide? Hee, you were so scared that your face turned pale just now. Fart. Laozi is born white. The chaotic noise reverberated. The noise turned into a noise, but the movements of the people in the adventure group were not panicked. The convoy stopped quickly. The adventurers got out of the car in an orderly manner and summoned Kaling to take a defensive position. Let's go down and help too. Yi Zi opened the car door and walked out. 500 meters away, the densely packed living corpses gathered together and rushed towards the convoy like a wave. The number is small, there are 2,000 or 3,000. After the distance was reduced to 200 meters, the adventurers immediately ordered Kaling to attack. In an instant, a colorful explosion erupted. Countless skills slammed into the corpse group like a storm, and the dazzling light and shadow almost dazzled the eyes of the flower people. With such a large number of living corpses, it is a good opportunity to brush the beheading achievement. Of course Yi Zi will not give up. Xiao Yu, leave it to you. Follow your orders. After blinking playfully, Yu Zhao took a step forward abruptly, and the long skirt on her body instantly turned into a fiery red dress. Li Yu, who was catching up from behind, happened to see this scene, and was stunned and speechless. What's going on? Swish. Yi Zi quickly drew out 3 spirit cards and used Ghost Rong to bless Tamamo before. In an instant, Yu Zhao's imposing manner was great before, the figure turned into a fiery red streamer, and the stars fell into the corpse like a falling moon. Boom. The boundless heat wave suddenly exploded, instantly burning the living corpses within a radius of 30 or 40 meters into ashes. Immediately after, another gust of wind and thunder emerged, roaring and tearing apart the living corpses. Li Yuaji was dumbfounded. How could he still not understand? This charming girl who followed Yi Zi every step of the way was not a gangster or an ordinary person at all, but a real Kaling. Chapter 57. No wonder Li Yu didn't think about it before. Which of the normal card students is not searching the intestines and scraping the stomach? I can't wait to break a little star power in half to use it. It is impossible to summon Kaling during non-combat moments and stay by his side all the time. Does this mean that the star power is not being used up fast enough? Li Yu broke his head and couldn't understand why Yi Zi did this. Could it be that his star power is so much that he can consume it at will? He wasn't alone in this surprise. The adventurers who saw this scene in the convoy almost broke their jaws. Not long after Yi Zi joined the team, the news spread. Everyone knows that there is a young Kadu strongman in the team, and there are 2 amazing-looking girls beside him. But no one expected that one of the delicate girls was actually a Kaling. And the level is not low. Killing a living corpse is no different from chopping vegetables and watermelons. Gale, thunder, flame wave, earth crack. Various attribute powers are used alternately. But just 4 or 5 minutes. More than 1,000 corpses died under Tamamo Mei. It even exceeded the total number of living corpses killed by other adventurers, which shocked many people. Another few minutes passed. With the last corpse engulfed in flames, the short battle finally came to an end. The members of the Red Light Adventure group who participated in the war looked at each other with a look of surprise on their faces. They had never fought such an easy fight before. The whole battle was basically paddling on the periphery, and the corpses were slaughtered before they exerted any force. The convoy is in the center. Xiao Aiyu, who watched the whole battle, smiled and turned back to the deputy head and said casually, "It seems that the rumors are true. Yi Zi is indeed very strong. The fox demon Kaling just now is at least level 60. Even with the blessing of astrology to reach this level, it is quite powerful. After all, even many 4-star card disciples don't have a level 60 card. Not to mention, according to rumors, Yi Zi also has a more terrifying Kaling, who killed a level 60 ancient tree elder with just 1 move." Thinking of this, Xiao Aiyu subconsciously looked in Yi Zi's direction. Then his eyes fell on another heroic girl beside him, and a thought suddenly flashed in his mind. Then Kaling can't be her, right? After cleaning up the scene hastily, the team continued to set off. On the way, the convoy never encountered a large group of corpses again. The scattered living corpses could not hinder the convoy, and the journey went quite smoothly. Wait until noon, when the sun is high. The convoy finally reached the periphery of Camp 38. The camp is square, with a side length of about 300 meters and an area of about 90,000 square meters. It sits beside a bottomless but clear river. Outside is a tall wall, and there are observation decks at the 4 corners and the middle. Several fully armed professional soldiers are standing behind the bunker of the observation deck, carefully guarding the surroundings. From time to time, a few Kalings can be seen flying from a distance, landing in the observatory, and communicating with the soldiers in a low voice. Outside the camp, soldiers and Kaling were also patrolling together. A group of heavily guarded appearance. The convoy of the Red Luminous Adventure Group stopped 200 meters away from the camp. The 2 adventurers came out more and more, walked to the front and communicated with the patrolling sergeant for a while, and successfully obtained the permission to pass. Soon, the heavy steel gates of the camp opened slowly, allowing the convoys to pass in turn. Speaking of which, what mission did you take this time? When passing through the gate, Yi Zi asked suddenly. Unless you are in the same team, it is very rude to rashly ask other adventurers or adventure groups about the quest content. But now that they have reached their destination, the Red Light Adventure Group should have completed the mission, and Yi has no scruples at this time. Delivering food and some logistics for Camp 38. Li Yu did not hesitate and answered truthfully. Recently, the frontline war is tight, and the military is short of manpower, so the trivial matter of delivering supplies to a temporary experimental base is outsourced to the adventure group. Yi was stunned. As for why no large transport vehicles such as trucks were found in the fleet. The reason is also very simple. Most of them use some kind of space storage type astrology, so that ordinary vehicles can also hold a lot of materials. Soon, Yi entered the camp. Because it is a temporary camp, most of the buildings inside are detachable self-propelled box houses. It looks like the environment is not bad, at least it is far more comfortable than tents. By the way, my lord, our head wants to meet you. I don't know if it is convenient for you. Getting out of the car, Yi was about to say goodbye departing, but Li Yu was the first to speak. The leader of the Red Light Adventure Group. Xiao Aiyu. A name popped into Yi's mind immediately. In Tianxin College, the most famous graduate in the past 10 years is Xiao Aiyu. Not to mention graduating as a 4-star card apprentice, but in just a few years after graduation, he founded the behemoth Red Light Adventure Group. You must know that the latter is one of the 2 largest adventure groups in Tianxin City. Therefore, her name can be said to be well known in Tianxin College. What is there to do with such a person? Yi was a little puzzled. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eyes, he suddenly saw a familiar figure. Turning his head to look, he was surprised to find that the man was Gao Fuxin. He was being checked at the gate of the camp. His face was red and he looked very happy. Soon, Gao Fuxin also noticed Yi. Chapter 58. Gao Fuxin is here to complete the Samsung Advanced mission. After his defeat in the college competition, he took a few days of rest to recover, and then immediately went to the Cards Association to apply for a 3-star advanced mission. The content of the mission is to go to the depths of Qingwei Plain to kill a powerful and terrifying creature. The process went smoothly, and the advanced tasks were finally successfully completed. He also got his wish and was promoted to become a 3-star card student. On the way to the temporary camp number 38 for rest, Gao Fuxin was in a state of excitement. Until I saw Yi. The first time his eyes met, Gao Fuxin raised his chest subconsciously. But soon, he also thought that Wu Yan and Xu Jiazhou, who were 3-star card disciples, were not Yi's opponents. Even if he was promoted to 3-star card disciple, he still couldn't beat Yi. Even the expression became gloomy, no longer the previous excitement. Yi looked funny. Has this guy ever learned to change his face? The expression on his face changed too quickly. What's wrong? Li Yu beside him wondered. Fine. Yi waved his hand. Let's go. It just so happens that I also want to meet the seniors of the next academy. Li Yu looked overjoyed, and hurried forward to lead the way. Soon, the two came to a warehouse. The people of the Red Obsidian Adventure Group are carrying supplies. Several men and women stood aside and communicated in low voices. The head is a tall, long-legged Oni-san beauty. At first sight of her, Yi recognized that this person was Xiao Aiyu. Xiao Aiyu also immediately noticed Yi's arrival, and after saying a few words to the people around him, he quickly walked towards him with his long legs, and stretched out his hand with a smile. Nice to meet you, Junior Yi. Me too, Sister Xiao. Yi reached out and gave her a light shake. Obviously an adventurer who travels all year round, Xiao Aiyu's palm is not rough, but extremely warm and delicate. I was shocked when I heard the team members say that the strong Kadu who single-handedly destroyed the lizard camp was actually a junior of my alma mater. Xiao Aiyu had a pleasant smile on his face. Unconsciously, the school has produced such an outstanding freshman. It's a pity that this time is too busy. Otherwise, I will go to my alma mater to watch the college competition, so that I can get to know Yi earlier. Senior sister has won the prize. In truth, you are the pride of the academy. Xiao Aiyu laughed and shook his head. The topic suddenly changed, and he said sternly. Does Yi have any plans after graduation in the future? Not yet. After all, I'm only in the 1st grade, so don't worry. Hearing this, Yi already understood Xiao Aiyu's purpose. Sure enough, she heard what she said immediately. Since that's the case, have you considered joining the adventure group? For cards, joining an adventure group is a good choice. It doesn't have to be as much restricted as joining the army or a corporate consortium. It has a certain degree of freedom, a lot of economic income, and at the same time, it can experience exciting adventures. In life, you can quickly improve your strength in actual combat. Don't you think this is very good? Yi chuckled and nodded. Indeed so. If the younger brother has this idea, then on behalf of the Red Light Adventure Group, I welcome you to join us. Xiao Aiyu looked at Yi with bright eyes, and there was a hint of hope in his eyes. But to her surprise, Yi shook his head. Sorry, Senpai, although I am very interested in adventure life, I don't plan to join any adventure group. Xiao Aiyu was taken aback. Why? It's more exciting to be alone. Yi said casually. The real reason is of course not this, but he couldn't explain it clearly, so he had to find an excuse at will. This answer was beyond Xiao Aiyu's expectations. She gave Yi a strange look. I didn't expect this student to have such a strange mentality. But most of the geniuses are maverick, and she is not surprised. Since this is the case, then I will not force it. If my junior changes his mind in the future, remember to consider our Red Light Adventure Group. Xiao Aiyu said with some regret. It would be a huge loss for any adventure group to miss out on such a young talent with great potential. No problem. Yi laughed. Then, Senpai, I'm going to deliver things to my employer, so I'll leave it here. Thank you for taking care of me along the way. You have also helped us a lot. Goodbye, Junior, and you can find me for coffee when you go back. Xiao Aiyu said with a smile. She was quite fond of this talented but not arrogant junior. Yi nodded with a smile, and was about to take Tomomo and Irina away, but out of the corner of his eye he saw two men walking towards him. The two chatted while walking, no different from other people in the camp. However, after approaching Xiao Aiyu and Yi, they suddenly turned their heads and stared at them fiercely. Roar. The two men suddenly let out a deafening roar that was not like a human voice. They suddenly escaped from their bodies, and bursts of gray mist condensed into two huge skulls in the blink of an eye, roaring silently and attacking Xiao Aiyu and Yi respectively. Chapter 59. With such a close distance, neither Xiao Aiyu nor Yi had time to draw out cards for defense. Evasion is impossible. Xiao Aiyu's complexion changed suddenly. Yi looked calm. Ariana, who was standing behind, took a step forward, and her whole body flashed in front of Yi in an instant. She reached out and spread out her 5 fingers, and a flickering hemispherical shield suddenly appeared, protecting her and Yi firmly behind. The terrifying huge skull slammed into the shield fiercely, but like a drop of water falling into the sea, it was silently cancelled and annihilated. The other side. Yu Zhaoqin also rushed towards Xiao Aiyu. 9 tails swept across the sky, and a large wave of flames slammed into the other skull. However, this skull doesn't know what energy attribute it is, and the flames don't have much effect on it. After breaking through the interception of the flames, the skeleton head, which had shrunk in a circle, slammed into Xiao Aiyu's body, and disappeared into her body strangely. Visible to the naked eye, Xiao Aiyu's face suddenly turned pale. The spirit of the whole person became sluggish in an instant, and the body was shaky. Captain. When the members of the nearby Red Light Adventure Group saw this scene, their eyes were split, and they put down their things and rushed over. Many people rushed towards the 2 attackers with red eyes. It's a pity that after they released the skull, they collapsed to the ground and died. There was a creepy grin on his face. Captain, are you all right? The 2 female members supported Xiao Aiyu, whose face was snow white, with anxious and worried expressions on their faces. Xiao Aiyu didn't answer. The corners of his lips were tightly pursed, and there was an indescribable tiredness and haggard expression on his face. As long as she is not blind, you can see that she is in a very poor condition now. At this time, an exclamation suddenly sounded. These 2 guys are taught by Fallen Star. The team member responsible for examining the corpse was holding 2 retrieved badges in his hands, and a falling meteor was engraved on the front, which was the symbol of the Falling Star cult. There seems to be some kind of magic in the word. All the people present at the scene changed their expressions. Yi's expression also became solemn. The Falling Star cult is a notorious pagan religion. Its purpose is to eliminate the Katu's privilege and resource inclination in the human alliance. They believed that Katu, like ordinary people, belong to the human race. Both parties are equal in status, and Katu should not enjoy privileges above ordinary people. Regardless of right or wrong, this request itself is quite normal. The fault lies in the way the falling star cult fulfills its demands. In order to achieve its purpose, the falling star cult, which lacks strength, even secretly colluded with the alien plane, and at the cost of gaining strength, provided the enemy with various information about the human alliance. This kind of traitor behavior is of course not acceptable to the alliance. As a result, the falling star religion was naturally struck by the thunder of the alliance. As a last resort, the falling star cult had to gradually go underground. The actions became more secretive and low-key, and the danger was further increased. Nowadays, the falling star cult has become synonymous with terrorist organizations. Wherever they appear, conspiracies and disasters are indispensable. Therefore, after knowing that the attacker was actually a member of the falling star cult, everyone immediately changed their expressions. Why do people from the falling star cult appear here? Questions were raised. This is just a temporary experimental camp. Even if the falling star cult wants to carry out a terrorist attack, it should not choose this place. In the crowd, Zhang Pei blurted out as if thinking of something. Could it be, for the research technology here? Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then their expressions sank. The 38 temporary experimental camp is researching the technology of driving and removing the living corpses. If it can be successful, it will undoubtedly be of great help to the alliance to retake the Qingwei plain. With this in mind, the falling star cult might indeed be unable to resist action. Now is not the time to speculate on this. Xiao Aiyu finally regained her breath and said in a hoarse voice. Immediately send someone to inform the garrison commander in the camp that since the falling star cult has taken action, it will never just kill me alone. Yes, Captain. As soon as the voice fell, someone turned their heads and ran towards the center of the camp. Junior, thank you just now. If it weren't for your killing shot, I would have to explain it here. Xiao Aiyu turned to look at Yi Zi with a hint of gratitude in his eyes. If it wasn't for Tamao Cheng blocking the block in time and weakening the power of the skull, she would definitely have turned into a corpse lying on the ground. Yi Zi waved his hand, indicating you're welcome. If he couldn't just watch Xiao Aiyu Xiao die. What Xiao Aiyu was about to say was suddenly interrupted by a high-pitched siren. The expressions of everyone changed immediately. This is the highest level of red alert, and the camp is clearly in an extremely serious crisis. Thinking of the attack of the fallen star cult just now, everyone immediately had an uneasy feeling in their hearts. And their hunch was soon confirmed. A shrill roar mixed with deep fear suddenly sounded, and even overwhelmed the siren and echoed over the camp. The corpse tide. Chapter 60. Corpse tide. Those who heard the roars froze. For adventurers on the Qingwei plain, the corpse tide is definitely the most terrifying nightmare. None of them. There were short and hurried footsteps all around, and many sergeants walked out of the house and rushed to the gate of the camp. In the blink of an eye, the camp entered a state of full defense. The loud announcement sounded and spread far away. Adventurers, after investigation, it was confirmed that a large-scale corpse tide was found 2 kilometers north of Camp 38. The camp is now on military alert level 3. Please return to the adventurers who are still outside the camp. The gate of the camp will be closed in 2 minutes. Please be sure to enter in order. Those who cause riots, the garrison will have the power to deal with it by force in accordance with the authorization of the Alliance's Temporary Theater Emergency Act. As the announcement sounded over and over again, many adventurers in the wild outside rushed back in panic. After 2 minutes, the heavy camp gate slammed shut. At the same time, the sergeants stationed in the camp stood on the wall one after another, and drew out the spirit cards and began to summon. Accompanied by bursts of light shining, countless silver-white guards appeared out of thin air in the wilderness outside the camp, lined up in formation with weapons and shields in hand, and looked blankly at the tide of corpses slowly coming in the distance. The camp wall had a small standing area, so it could only be used by the sergeants, and Kaling could only attack from the outside. Damn it. This is the outskirts of the Qingwei plain. It stands to reason that there should be no corpse tide. It must be caused by the falling star cult. They want to destroy this place. Li Yu clenched his fists in shock and anger. As soon as the alarm sounded, they rushed to the vicinity of the fence. When they saw the endless corpses in the distance, everyone understood at once. Yi Zi glanced sideways at Xiao Aiyu. Camp 38 is far from the front line, and the possibility of being affected by the war is not high. Therefore, the garrison's strength here is not strong, and there are only more than 200 ordinary sergeants and more than 20 military cadres. The strongest one is probably Zhu Shui, the garrison commander. A 5-star card student. Of course, the strongest combat power in the camp before should be Xiao Aiyu. It's just that she can barely stand even now, and it is impossible for her to participate in the war. This is probably the purpose of the Falling Star sect attacking her. They didn't know where to know that Xiao Aiyu brought the regiment to Camp 38, so they set up a plot to kill, preparing to get rid of Xiao Aiyu's powerful fighting force before the war. Even at the expense of 2 lives. If Yi Zi didn't happen to be at the scene, the Falling Star cult's conspiracy might have succeeded. After all, no one expected to be attacked in the camp. However, their purpose is almost achieved. Yi Zi thought to himself. I just don't know how the Falling Star cult attracted the corpse tide. This is bad. That's a corpse tide. How can it be resisted with this amount of power in the camp? Aren't we going to die here? Bah, Krauzui, don't say such unlucky words. Laozi still wants to go back and get married after finishing this mission. There was a lot of discussion. Most of them had gloomy faces. That is a terrifying corpse tide. With the strength in the camp alone, it is almost impossible to support the arrival of rescue. A pessimistic atmosphere quickly spread among the adventurers. Master, we seem to be in trouble. Tamamo before stuck out his tongue and whispered in Yi Zi's ear. It's a little troublesome indeed. Yi Zi shrugged slightly and added another sentence in his heart. But it is also an opportunity. He didn't forget that there was still a beheading achievement. If there is no accident after the beheading of 10,000 people, it should be the achievement of beheading 100,000 people. This is undoubtedly a very difficult number to achieve. If you hunt monsters step by step, I don't know how long it will take to complete. And now is just an opportunity. The corpse slaughtering group had increased the number of beheadings by more than 1,000 before. If it was replaced by an even more staggering corpse horde, maybe the achievement could be achieved after a single battle. Roar, roar. After a while, before the corpse tide finally arrived at the camp, he fought with the silver guards who were waiting in battle. A time. There were shouts and roars one after another from outside the camp, and the sky-high murderous aura mixed with the corpse aura, making the sky a gray gloom. Many timid adventurers have trembling legs, and their faces are so white that they can't see a trace of blood. Yi Zi looked around, and suddenly saw a middle-aged man in his 40s more than 10 meters away. His eyes moved immediately. The other party is the target of his mission. Without hesitation, Yi Zi immediately strode over. Hello, is this Professor Zhang Yuinan? Ah, I am, what's the matter? Zhang Yuinan was looking worriedly at the direction of the camp gate. When he was suddenly called, he couldn't help showing confusion. My name is Yi Zi. I have accepted the task you posted in the Cards Association. This is the item you requested to be delivered. Please keep it. Also, please sign this document. I will go back and submit the task later, as proof. Looking at the suitcase and documents that Yi Zi handed over, Zhang Yuinan couldn't help being stunned. It's a good thing to be conscientious, but at this time, you still have the mind to think about the task. Your nerves are too big. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.